I've been using Windows 11 as my main operating system for about a month now, and I've been using my unattended Winstall version of Windows 11. And although I find it much better to use Windows 11 without all of the bloatware and unnecessary stuff running in the background, there are still some things I don't like about Windows 11, and that is the taskbar, start menu, and right-click menu. Now the good news is there are a lot of programs that you can use to replace the shell in Windows 11, and that's what the next few videos are going to be about on my channel. If you want to check out the other videos, go ahead and look at the description of this video, and I'll have all of those videos linked in a playlist that you can go ahead and watch. Now in this video, I'm using a stock version of Windows 11. I'm not using a deep loaded version. And as you can see, it's got the normal taskbar here as well as the normal start menu. Now in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can basically get the Windows 10 taskbar back on Windows 11. For that, we're going to be using a program called ExplorerPatcher, and you can get it from the GitHub page here. And obviously, I'll have this linked in the description of this video as well. But basically, ExplorerPatcher, it aims to enhance the working environment on Windows. So it has a whole bunch of different settings and properties that you can change, and I'm going to show you that in this video. So if we go ahead and we go to the Releases tab here on the right, and we go ahead and download the latest release, I'm just going to download the ExplorerPatcher setup executable file here. And then once that's done, I'm just going to click on Open File, click on Yes, and then it's going to look like the computer's breaking for a little bit. It's going to eventually come back, and you'll see that the taskbar has changed. You can see it's also downloading some new symbols. But basically, you can see this isn't the Windows 11 taskbar anymore. It's the Windows 10 taskbar. If we go ahead and click on the Start button here, you can see it still opens the Windows 11 Start menu, and it still opens it in the center of the screen. Now, we're going to fix all that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So to get to the ExplorerPatcher properties, you can right-click on an empty space on the taskbar here, and then you can click on Properties. Now you've got a ton of settings and stuff that you can change here. You can see you've got a taskbar section, you've got a system tray section, File Explorer, all of that. And we're going to be going through the most common settings in this video here. So for starters, if we look at the taskbar here, you can set the taskbar style to Windows 10 or Windows 11 if you wanted to use the Windows 11 taskbar, but with some of the other options and settings that you have in ExplorerPatcher. For this video, I'm going to leave Windows 10 selected. Now, if you click on this first option here, it's going to open the taskbar settings in Windows 11, and you can obviously change the taskbar settings here as you would normally do. But you have some other options here. For example, you can customize the notification area icons. So if I click on that, it's going to open this window here, which resembles one of the older versions of Windows. Now, for example, we can change the icons that we see here in the system tray. So for example, VMware Tools, if I click on this Hidden Icons button here, you can see there's the VMware Tools, and I can also drag that out of the hidden system tray, so it always displays here. You can see I have some other options here. I can basically hide the icon and its notifications. So I'm going to do that for the VMware Tools. You also have the option here to turn the system icons on or off. And this is basically the icons like the clock, volume, microphone, network, power, and all of that. So for example, the input indicator, the English version that I have here, which is my keyboard layout. If I click on that and I switch it to off, you can see it's immediately gone. So you can hide any of these options here. The same with the Action Center. If you wanted to switch that off, it basically gets rid of the notifications altogether. So I don't have the notifications there. And then click on OK, which will take me back to this screen here, where it seems I'll have to hide the VMware Tools again, and then click on OK and restart the File Explorer. It doesn't actually seem to be working, and this might be a bug in the software. If we go back to these settings here, you can see that the setting isn't actually changed. So this might be a bug. So you can customize the system icons, which we've already done. And then you have some options here for where you want the taskbar to be located. So you can choose a primary taskbar location, and you can basically change this to the top and then restart File Explorer, and it's going to be at the top then. But an easier way to do this is just to right click on the taskbar and then unlock the taskbar. You can see it's locked at the moment, and then you can click on this and then drag it to any corner of the screen, just like you would normally do on older versions of Windows. But I'm just going to select the bottom as it's the default. And then if you have secondary screens, you can also select where those taskbars must be located. So for example, on the primary screen, you could have it on top, and then on any secondary monitors, you can have it at a different location if you want that. For search, you can show the search box or the icon. As you can see down here, it's just changed to the icon, or you can hide it completely. You can choose to show or hide the task view button, which is this button here. If I deselect that, then it's going to hide the task view button. You can choose to automatically hide the taskbar. And if I click on that, the taskbar will be hidden until I go to it with the mouse. I'm just going to disable that for now. Then you've got the start button style, which is on Windows 10 by default, which is this button here. You can change that to Windows 11. And before some of these changes are applied, you might have to restart your File Explorer, and you can just click on the File Explorer down here to do that. Now, as you can see, this isn't really the Windows 11 start button as you would have on the normal taskbar, but it is changed and resembles the Windows 11 start button more. Then you can choose where you want the primary taskbar to be aligned. So at screen edge is the default, but you can also change it to centered, which will put all of the icons in the center of the screen. You also have the option to center it with the start button in the middle of the screen, which is basically the default Windows 11 taskbar style. I'm just going to change it back to the default, so it's at the screen's edge. And then you also have the same setting for any secondary monitors that you might have. And then you have the option for both primary monitors and secondary monitors if you want to combine the taskbar icons. So as you can see, these taskbar icons here, because they're open, it also displays the text. So if I change this to always combine, it's not going to show the labels anymore. It just shows the icon. And you can change the setting to whatever you want. And then lastly, you can change the taskbar icon size. Large is the default, and then small will make the taskbar even smaller. Let's just leave it on the default for now, and let's move on to the other options that we have here. So we've got the system tray tab. Now what I want to show you here is you have the option to show the seconds in the clock down there if that's something you want. You also have the control center button, which is this gear icon here, which basically opens the control center on Windows 11. Now what I like to do is I like to disable this, and like I said, you need to restart File Explorer for some of these changes to take effect. But you can see the gear icon is gone now. I've still got this VMware Tools icon here that's bugging out, but just ignore that for now. If we have a look at the rest of the settings here, you've got the Show Desktop button here, which is this corner of the screen. If you click on that, it's just going to take you to the desktop, and that is enabled by default. Here are some of the settings that I think are the most useful. So if you choose to open the network and internet settings, when right-clicking the network icon, it should open, and then you have a few options here. So it can open the settings app, it can open the network and sharing center and control panel, or it can open network connections and control panel. So by default, if you click on the network icon here, and you click on Open Network and Internet Settings, it's going to take you to the Windows 11 settings page. But you can change that to Open in Control Panel. So if we have a look at the option now, it's going to open the Network and Sharing Center in the control panel. And the other option here is to load network connections. So if we test it out again, it's going to take you directly to the network connection screen that you have in control panel. So this is really good if you don't like using the built-in Windows 11 settings. I normally like to have it open to the Network and Sharing Center. Then if we have a look at the other options here, when clicking these system icons in the system tray, you can choose what it should open. Now by default, it's all set to the Windows 10 flyouts here, except for the language switcher, which I've completely disabled earlier anyway, so I'm not going to be even looking at that. But as you can see, if I do a normal click on the network icon, it shows me the Windows 10 menu. The same with the calendar, or the clock as it's called here. This is the Windows 10 menu. This is not the Windows 11 menu. If I click on the sound button here, it also shows me the Windows 10 sound control menu here. Now you have different options. You can use the Windows 11 Control Center. You can use the Windows 11 Wi-Fi flyout menu. You can use the Windows 8 network flyout. If we go ahead and select that, this is what the Windows 8 network flyout looked like. I wouldn't want to use that. I'll just leave it on the Windows 10 flyout. But you also have the same options of opening it to control panel if you wanted to directly open to control panel just by left clicking on the network icon there. For the sound, you've got the Windows 7 flyout, which I know a lot of people preferred to have this sound menu here rather than the Windows 10 or Windows 11 flyout. I'll just leave the default Windows 10 selected. Then the same for the clock. You can set it to the Windows 11 calendar, which is this notification pane here. which I don't like using, or you can use the Windows 7 clock, which is this one here. Again, I'll just leave it on Windows 10, which is the default. And then for the battery, if you have a laptop, you can also change it to the Windows 7 battery flyout. Now moving on to the File Explorer section here. The File Explorer is obviously this app in Windows here. And as you can see, you've got the new Windows 11 command ribbon up here, which has all of these icons here. So you've got a lot of options that you can obviously set using the ExplorerPatcher properties here. Now, if you want to use the File Explorer section, you need to register it as a shell extension. So you can just click on that and then click on yes. Now you can disable the Windows 11 context menu, which is the right click menu. So if I right click, this is the normal Windows 11 right click menu. And then if I enable this setting and then restart File Explorer, I now have the normal right click menu that you had in previous versions of Windows, like Windows 10 for example. You can enable the legacy file transfer dialog, and that's basically that screen that you see when you copy and paste files. You can use classic drive groupings in this PC. So if you navigate to this PC and you enable the classic drive grouping option and then restart File Explorer and navigate back to this PC, then you'll see it's changed to the older groupings where you have them listed according to the device. Then you also have the option to change the control interface, which is this command bar up here. So by default, the Windows 11 command bar is selected, but you can change this to the Windows 10 ribbon, for example. And again, you'll need to restart File Explorer. If I go ahead and open File Explorer, now I have the Windows 10 ribbon up here with all of these options here. I like this more than the Windows 11 command bar, so I'm going to leave that selected. But you also have the option to change this to the Windows 7 command bar, and I'll just show you what that looks like quickly. That's basically just having file edit view and all of these settings, as you can see right there. I honestly think Windows 10 had the better command ribbon. Then for the start menu, like I showed you earlier, if you click on the start menu, it still opens the Windows 11 start menu, which is the default, but you can change the start menu to Windows 10. You can change where it should open, which by default is the center in Windows 11. As you just saw, it opens in the center of the screen here, but obviously I would want it to open at screen edge, which will then open to the left here. And you can see this is basically the Windows 10 start menu, and we can go ahead and unpin all of these tiles here and pin whatever we want to pin to that start menu here. I normally just unpin everything and just use this list to open the apps on my computer on Windows 10. But that's how you can get the Windows 10 start menu in Windows 11. Then you have some more options here with the number of frequent apps that you can show. You can show more tiles if you want. I just unpinned all of the tiles, so I'm not going to be using that. Then you have a corner preference here, which is not rounded on Windows 10 by default. Basically, you have these sharp edges here, but if you want, you can change that to rounded corners with a docked menu. And what that means is the corners here will just be rounded, but the menu will still be part of the taskbar. If you were to choose the option to have a floating menu, then you would have this gap between the taskbar and the start menu. And some people might prefer this and like it this way. I'll just leave the normal Windows 10 menu selected, which looks like that. Then you've got a display mode here, which is currently set to default. You can select start menu here, or you can select full screen start. If I select start menu, it basically is the same as the default, it seems like. But if you select full screen start and just allow that action, then you can actually get the old Windows 10 full screen start menu back on Windows 11. I don't like to use that, but it is an option if you want to use it. I'll just leave the default selected, which is the normal start menu. Then you can also change the app list option here. So if I hide that, you can see that there's going to be no app list. I'll have to click on this icon here to show the all apps, and then I can pin whatever I want to use to the start menu like you would in Windows 10. So you can either hide it or you can disable it completely. And if it's disabled, you won't have access to that list of all programs. You'll only have the pinned apps on this list here. Like I mentioned earlier, I like to have it displayed, and I normally just unpin all of the apps from the start menu and just use this list to open the apps. So that's basically it for the start menu. You've got some other options here with regards to the window switcher, which is this Alt-Tab menu here. By default, it's set to the Windows 11 Alt-Tab menu, but you can change this to Windows 10, Windows NT, or just a simple window switcher where you have a bunch of options with regards to the window switcher here. Honestly, I'll just leave that on the default, which is Windows 11. And then next we have a weather option here, and this basically is the news and interests widget that you can get, which is disabled by default, which is great. If you want to show the weather on the taskbar, then you can enable that, and then you have this option here to show the weather on the taskbar. I don't ever use the weather widget in Windows, so I'm just going to disable that. But if it's something you use, you can enable it and go through the settings and tweak it to your liking. We can go to the other tab here, which is basically a bunch of other settings which might be useful to you in Windows. Now, I'm not going to be going through every single setting. What I just want to show you is you have the option of disabling the rounded corners for application windows. So if I go ahead and select that and open the File Explorer, for example, you can see that the rounded corners are now gone. If I enable that again and open the File Explorer again, you can see that I have the rounded corners and they were added in Windows 11. I'll leave that selected. Now, the other thing that I want to show you here is you can prevent the following control panel links from being redirected to the settings app. So if we were to do a search for the control panel and we open the small icons here, if, for example, I were to click on System here, it's going to open the Windows 11 settings app instead of the old control panel link. So if I changed this system or about page and then clicked on system, it's going to take me to the old system page that we used to have in previous versions of Windows. So you can select all of these if you wanted it to open the older versions of those pages in Control Panel. Then the Updates tab here is basically just the ExplorerPatcher updates. You can click on Check for Updates here and it will automatically download and install updates. And you also have some options here that you can play around with if you were to do that. If you click on the settings button here, you can basically export all of these settings that you just set now to a file. So for example, let's just export these settings to the desktop, and that's going to export it to a registry file. Then let's say you can save this file on external media. And if you ever reinstalled Windows and you don't want to go through the process of selecting all of these options again, you can just import the settings and then select your ExplorerPatcher file that you exported, click on yes, and then it's gonna import those settings. You'll probably have to accept some prompts like I did there, and then restart the File Explorer, but you won't have to go through the process of selecting all of the settings again. It'll automatically be applied because you exported your current configuration to that file right there and then just imported it to the ExplorerPatcher application here. Now you also have the option of restoring the default settings, and then if you decide that you don't want to use ExplorerPatcher anymore, you can also uninstall ExplorerPatcher from here, but you can also uninstall it normally via the Windows installed apps. As you can see, it's listed as a program and you can just go ahead and uninstall it and it will be gone from your computer. Now, before I do that, I just want to show you that you can use OpenShell in conjunction with ExplorerPatcher. And if you don't know what OpenShell is, it's basically a start menu replacement that was originally called Classic Shell. And you don't want to use Classic Shell anymore because it's outdated, but you can use OpenShell. And I just want to show you as an example, if we download the latest release from the GitHub page here, and we install OpenShell with ExplorerPatcher on this computer here, and then click on the Start button, it's going to open a classic version of the Start menu. Now, normally when you click on the Start button the first time after you install OpenShell, you'll be greeted with this menu here where you can select a style for the Start menu, and then you can also select some different skins. I already had it set to Windows Aero, which is what I like using, and that basically gives you this type of Start menu here, which resembles the Windows 7 Aero theme. Now, you can also go ahead and pin any items to the Start menu here if you want, and it's going to show up at the top there exactly like it would on earlier versions of Windows. And if you're someone who wants to have the Windows 10 taskbar but with a Windows 7 type of start menu, then you can use OpenShell in conjunction with ExplorerPatcher to achieve that. But like I showed you throughout this video, you can basically just use ExplorerPatcher to get the Windows 10 taskbar, the Windows 10 start menu, the Windows 10 file explorer with these ribbons here, as well as the Windows 10 right-click menu or context menu on Windows 11. But regardless, I just want to show you that if you uninstall ExplorerPatcher and you click yes, it's basically going to ask you to reboot your computer, and you'll have to do that to completely uninstall it. It's going to be the same with OpenShell, which I'll show you in a second here. So as you can see, after the restart, I've got the Windows 11 taskbar back. Now, if I click on the start button now, it's still going to open the Open Shell menu because I haven't uninstalled that yet, but you can just go ahead and uninstall it like a normal program. You'll get a prompt that you need to restart your computer as well, but it won't restart automatically. You'll have to restart manually, but it'll still uninstall the Open Shell menu, and then you'll have the Windows 11 taskbar with the Windows 11 start menu back. In case you installed ExplorerPatcher and Open Shell like I did in this video, and you want to get rid of it and use the normal Windows 11 start menu and taskbar, then you can remove the programs like I just showed you there. And obviously the File Explorer will be back to the default Windows 11 state, but it seems the right-click menu is not reverted back to the Windows 11 right-click menu. If you like the Windows 11 context menu, then just keep it in mind. If you apply these tweaks like I showed you in this video, you might not be able to get the Windows 11 context menu back, although I think you'll just need to change some registry settings and then you'll get it back, but just keep it in mind. But I really hope you found some sort of value in this video. If you did, please give it a like. And if you want to support me in any future videos, you can consider becoming a member of this channel. But with that being said, thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.